to Town Square. I'm Patty O'Donnell, and I'm your host today for today's presentation. With me, I have some folks from Vermont Yankee, some employees there. We have Tony Bonello, Bruce Lawrence, and Michelle Joy. And they're here today to talk about some of the issues that have come up on Vermont Yankee and to explain to folks back home what Vermont Yankee really is. The reason why I asked them to come here today is I found my years in Montpelier, I was a little frustrated by the fact that very little bit of fact actually gets out about Vermont Yankee. And I know, living in my community, I get great comfort in knowing the folks that work at Vermont Yankee and listening to what they have to say about the jobs that they do. So I wanted to bring these folks to you today so you can make up your own mind about what the facts are and what the fiction is at Vermont Yankee. So we're going to start today with, they're going to go through what Vermont Yankee is, how it works, what the tritium was, and we're going to go on from there and talk about the economic benefit of Vermont Yankee. So we'll start with Tony. Want to talk about, obviously you're Tony, a little bit about what you do at Vermont Yankee, and we can go from there.
Well, first of all, my job is radiation protection. My job is to protect the worker and the public from overexposure from radiation. And what do we have at Vermont Yankee is, number our first priority is safety. Safety is the highest priority of every employee at Vermont Yankee throughout the whole energy fleet. And here at VY, we take a lot of pride in that. So our morning briefs, we start off with a safety topic, and we go over safety culture. It has to do with ice outside, the snow, how we run and operate the plant. And it's very important that every employee understands the safety conscious of what we do. One of the jobs that I do is I protect the workers that come in to work inside the radiation-controlled area for overexposure. We do have a job brief, a pre-job brief. We go over the radiation work permit to understand what they're doing and what they're doing in the plant is safe and legal and be responsible for your job function. It's a short brief of what the job function is and everybody's responsibility what they do at VY. It's important to understand that everybody has a role to play and we have procedures to follow. And we follow those procedures all the time.
And Bruce, you want to explain what it is that you do at Vermont Yankee?
Yeah, okay. I've been at Vermont Yankee for 26 years now, and all of that's been with operations. Started out as what's called an auxiliary operator. We go out in the plant and actually operate the equipment, make sure it's running right, check for leaks, all that sort of stuff. I got promoted, got my NRC license, so that I became a control room operator. And that's when you actually are in the control room actually running the plant. You're starting and stopping pumps, you're controlling the power, starting the plant up after a shutdown, shutting the plant down for outages, whatever it takes. And then the last couple of years I was promoted into management and have been coordinating work efforts between operations and the rest of the plant.
Do you want to explain to people the training that you go through? I know that there's a simulator in Brattleboro that you have to go to every 6 weeks. Do you want to explain a little bit about that? Because I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, licensed operators, we have it's upwards of 2 years initial training. We have to have well, basically it's a 2-day test, partially written, partially actual simulator performance for the NRC before you get your license. And then once you've gotten your license, you have to maintain it. And it's every 6 weeks you go to training and you get more information on the different systems. You actually go into the simulator, you get tested on emergency procedures, normal procedures, new systems as they're changed, added to, whatever. You get the training, and the simulator actually mimics the plant exactly. So it's very good training.
And what happens if you don't do well on your testing?
Well, if we don't pass the test, we get pulled off shift, we get retrained. We are not allowed to actually operate at the plant individually until we pass the test.
Michelle, you want to talk about what it is that you do at the plant?
Yeah, I am a licensed reactor operator as well at Vermont Yankee, and I've had my license for almost 2 years now. And Bruce touched upon what my job is, but to sum it up, my job is to keep everybody safe.
And you all do a very, very good job of it, by the way. Let's start with explaining what the basics of what Vermont Yankee is and how it generates electricity.
Okay, I can do that. So we have our reactor core, and in the core we flow water. We have a reaction that happens, and when the atom splits and neutrons are released, it generates heat. The heat boils the water. Water turns into steam. Steam goes to our turbine, turns the blades, which turns the generator and produces electricity. And electricity goes out to the grid and powers your home.
Now, what equivalent of fuel would you need from other sources to make up Vermont Yankees?
Like Michelle said, we split atoms to produce heat, to boil water. The atoms come in the form of uranium, and the uranium is in a pellet form, which is maybe 3/4 of an inch long and 1/2 inch in diameter. That one uranium fuel pellet can provide enough power to supply one house 75 days worth of electricity. Now, in order to get that same amount, you would need to burn 2,000 pounds of coal. You would need to burn 3 barrels of oil. That's about 150 gallons of oil. A quart of wood would produce the same amount of electricity, or 17,000 cubic feet of natural gas. I really don't know what to equate that much natural gas to size-wise, but it's a big volume. And I say that's all the same amount of power is produced by one uranium pellet.
So that's why Vermont's footprint is very low on carbon emissions, because we have Vermont Yankee supplying the majority of or such a large amount of electricity.
That's
in the
correct.
state of
We don't
Vermont.
have to burn all that oil. We don't have to burn the wood, the coal, whatever.
So, Vermont Yankee produces about 17 tons of carbon dioxide per gigawatt hour. That is a really minimal amount compared to coal, which is over 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide. And natural gas is around 600 tons. And the next closest to us would be hydroelectric, and they still produce more carbon dioxide emissions than Vermont Yankee does. So this is the #1 reason why the state of Vermont has the best rating as far as carbon dioxide emissions go.
And some of that emissions is counting the mining the uranium, getting the uranium to the plant. So that's where some of those emissions come from. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the total life cycle, which basically from ground to spent fuel.
Okay, let's talk about the safety of Vermont Yankee. Tony, you want to take that?
Absolutely. Safety is everybody's job and everybody's responsibility of Vermont Yankee. That's our #1 priority. Safety is talked about every day. Every day is important about safety. One of the things that we do, we talk about what's called OE, operating experience, on safety things that's happened at other places, not just at nuclear power plants, all over all industries. But at Vermont Yankee, we strongly feel that safety is our #1 rule, and we follow it to the T. We've been safe here at Vermont Yankee for over 38 years running this nuclear power plant, and we take pride in that safety, being conscious about safety all the time. We have 2 full NRC inspectors at Vermont Yankee that oversee our site, and they have over 7,000 hours of inspections and keeping track of what we do, that we're doing our job right. We also have a license renewal inspection focused on plant aging and nuclear safety issues in January of 2006. It's still ongoing, and we are stepping that up, and we take pride in our plant. And I think we do everywhere.
The safety goes beyond the individual's industrial safety, if you will. It goes all the way through nuclear safety. People take their safety-conscious work areas home with them. Just as an example, myself personally, I used to climb a ladder at home and hang off the edge. The other day, I was going up onto the roof to take some ice off. I started reaching where I shouldn't be reaching. I stopped, got down, moved the ladder. So that's, you take your safety home with you.
It gets drilled into you so much.
It gets drilled into you
becomes a
so
way of
much.
life.
That's right. That's right.
Didn't Vermont Yankee get an award from the industry for being a top-rated plant just like last fall?
We currently have the VPP star status, and that is recognized through VOSHA and OSHA as being one of the top-rated safety industries.
Let's talk about tritium, because that has been a huge topic of conversation in Vermont this past year. So let's talk a little bit about what tritium is and what actually happened.
Tony, you're the tritium guy.
Well, we've had some tritium problems that we had some releases, but the releases that we've had have been below the state limits. And we're self-identifying, we report everything. And even though we found some tritium problems and issues, we've reported to the state, it's below our limits. We have a team together right now, we found some little more tritium out of another well, and the limits are coming down. And we are putting a team together to find out if there's any more leaks on the ground that we're not aware of. And the team is actively putting an engineering plan together to make sure that we're on top of this problem of tritium.
Now, I know as a legislator, I was getting updates daily from the Department of Health, letting me know, and the rest of us know, that there is absolutely no danger to the health and safety of anyone in Vermont, and tritium was not spewing into the Connecticut River. There's been a lot of false statements made through the whole tritium issue. So can you explain to me, and any one of you that want to do it, exactly what the tritium means, and what is the amount of tritium, and is it possible for it to spew anywhere?
Well, tritium has, the release of tritium right now is 20 times smaller than the limits of drinking water that we've released. Okay, so there's tritium in water, there's tritium in foods, there's stuff that we're doing at Vermont Yankee to make sure that we don't put anything into the environment. And we're taking safety precautions on that's why we put on these test wells to test our site to make sure we're not releasing anything to the river. And it's important to understand that these limits are very, very, very low. And people don't understand that we get so scrutinized by the media that we're leaking. It sounds bad, but it's not that bad.
And we're also pumping this water out of these wells and placing it in storage tanks and removing it.
That's
We're
correct.
not letting it continue to flow through the groundwater systems and into the river. We're stopping that before it can happen.
And tritium, some of it, tritium and radioactivity, they're all natural occurrences in our environment, though, aren't they?
We have lots of natural radioactivity. Just going outside on a sunny day, you're getting radiation. Flying in an airplane, you're getting radiation. Eating bananas, granite countertops, it's all around us. And radiation is good for us in the right amount. We need to have the sun shining on us.
I had someone tell me a few years ago that I would get more radiation by sitting on the granite steps at the State House than if I sat on the chimney at Vermont Yankee. Is that true?
That's absolutely true.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Yes, we measure and record our dose at the plant every year, basically, constantly. But my own personal dose for last year was 0 milligrams.
Okay.
And this is after a whole year of working at the plant.
So
that means I had no radiation from the plant last year from working there.
is there a way to compare so that people back home understand the amount of tritium? Is there anything to compare that tritium to the amounts of tritium that were found at Vermont Yankee? I've heard that you get more tritium in one exit sign than what was found at Vermont Yankee. Can you explain
Absolutely.
that?
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head as far as quantity-wise for tritium in exit signs, but tritium is used in everyday materials. There's watches out there that have tritium dials on there so you can see them glowing in the dark of night. Your exit signs that need to be a power fail safety feature, they have tritium to keep them glowing. I don't have the numbers, so I can't give the good
Statistic numbers are like 11.5 to 20 curies in one little exit sign. That's what, that's basically. But I believe they're low energy beta emitters, so it's not going to come through the plastic sign at all.
Right.
But we have a lot of exit signs in our landfills.
Absolutely, people have no problem throwing them right out in the trash, and that's doing far more damage and far more polluting than anything Vermont Yankee will ever even think about.
Now-
Smoke detectors, the ones you have in your house, some of those have radiation from them. And like you say, those go right in the landfill when we wear out.
And we're not concerned about what's in our landfills all around our state, but we're concerned about a little bit of tritium
That's
at
right.
Vermont Yankee.
That's right.
Right. Let's talk about radiation in the United States. Where does our radiation come from?
More than half of it, 54%, comes from radon. And stop and think of how much radon you get from your own natural house. You know, it comes from the ledges, comes up through your wells. There are a lot of houses out there that have radon pumps, if you will. that
Especially in New England,
exhaust
because
it
of all
out.
the granite, right?
That's
That's
correct.
correct.
That's correct. Cosmic radiation from the sun, naturally like that, is about 8%.
Mhm.
Radiation from the earth, natural radiation again, is another 8%. Medical x-rays, nuclear medicine makes up another 14–15%. Consumer products, like I say, the smoke detectors, the exit signs,
Coleman
food
lanterns.
you eat, Coleman lanterns, 3%.
So then that 1% that's left, the nuclear energy is within that 1% other,
That's correct, yeah.
plus other things that you
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
can't account
Right.
for because it's so small.
So you could say less than 1% comes from nuclear energy.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Vermont Yankee. If Vermont Yankee closes in 2012, the state of Vermont loses 650 well-paying jobs. Plus, estimates according to economists that worked for the legislature have said that it's possible to lose another 650 jobs from the trickle-down effect of closing Vermont Yankee. Vermont Yankee now provides $100 million a year in economic benefit, and that would be gone. And that, again, is according to an estimate that was done by Dick Heaps, who's an economist for the Northeast Economic Consultant Group. Vermont would be without 38% of its baseload electricity and 80% of its in-state power generation capacity. Can you explain a little bit of that? What the what baseload power is and the need for baseload power in order to be able to bring any renewables or weaker energies onto the grid?
Okay, baseload power, Patty, is the power that's needed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's whether the sun shines, whether it rains, whatever, the area needs a certain amount of power. Now, baseload plant is one whose intention is to provide that power. Means they're supplying 100% of their output 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. That's what base power is.
We had a lot of people, a few people, say that if Vermont Yankee closes, the lights aren't going to go out. We all know that that's not going to happen. That there's plenty of power to go around and they can get other power from other areas. Can you talk about the cost of buying wholesale power?
Well, the actual cost of buying power on the open market, as it is, fluctuates day to day, hour to hour, sometimes even minute to minute. Yesterday, for instance, I got on the Ice of New England website, and they list the power costs by the hour, and they were over $1,000. That's a megawatt. And VY sells it for $4. So, I mean,
Big difference.
if we were to buy from the open market, we would have been paying $1,000 a megawatt yesterday.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. That's a
It's a
huge,
huge difference.
Yeah, especially the
Huge.
businesses trying to
Yes,
keep a bottom line.
that's right.
Patty, I'd like to touch on the losing the well-paying jobs if Vermont Yankee were to close. A lot of our adversaries say that, well, those jobs are still going to be there through decommissioning, and that we'll still be able to work at Vermont Yankee which isn't true. You know, when Yankee Row was decommissioned, essentially most of their personnel were all laid off or took severance packages, and then they brought in labor to come in and dismantle the plant. People who aren't Vermont residents, who aren't planning to stay in Vermont for the rest of their lives, who won't buy houses or buy groceries or, you know, shop in the local businesses. And, you know, I just want to stress that Brattleboro especially will be hit very, very hard.
I'm working right now, I've had a meeting with Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, and they're very, very concerned about where we're going to go from here and the economic development in southern Vermont, because Windham County is suffering already.
Absolutely.
Now, I've also had some people say to me, well, only 200 people live in Vermont, and we could retrain those people, and who cares about Vermont and Massachusetts, which I mean New Hampshire, Massachusetts, which I have to say right away, we've never put borders up in Vermont. I know a lot of Vermonters who work in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, so you know we are all dependent on each other as a region. But is it possible to retrain 200 people in Windham County? I mean, where do you see somebody who's trained in your industry being able to take their knowledge and bring it anywhere else in Windham County?
We don't have it available for us in Windham County by any means. I mean, I couldn't do my job anywhere in the state of Vermont. You know, I would have to move someplace to Tennessee or, you know, Texas or some other place that's not New England, not my home, and not where I want to be. And you know, to just swap me over to work at a hydro plant, well, those jobs are very few. They're very difficult to get, and they don't have enough for all of us who are trained to be operators at the plant. And you know, that's just me speaking. I don't know, you know, somebody like Tony, his job is very unique, and it's not something that's going to be translated to any job and that would be available in Vermont.
Okay, so now we're at, Vermont's going to have to buy their power on the open market, which we know is expensive. Also, we know we have to rely on carbon emitting sources, and right now Vermont has a very, very low portfolio. The New England grid would be unstable without the reliable power. Can any of you talk about that and how the grid is set up and how other states rely on our grid?
Yeah, the New England grid is set up such that they can get power from point A to point B. So yes, we would not run out of power. However, the infrastructure, the lines, the transformers, the towers themselves would need upgrading. Electric wires are sized to carry just a certain load. And the load that we would need to bring into Vermont, if Vermont Yankee was closed, is greater than the capacity of the wires.
I've been told that in order to restructure the grid, if Vermont Yankee closes, it's going to be a cost of about $71 million. And folks in other states, and ISO New England, feel that if the Vermont legislature is making a decision that's going to cost that much money, it's really only fair that the state of Vermont pay the cost, not the other states who have nothing to do with the. So that's another huge financial consideration to be made. I'm going to talk a little bit about the economy from my experience, and you can jump in here anywhere that you feel that you can. Vermont Yankee contributes to the Clean Energy Fund, and we've all heard that money is put aside for renewable energy programs to be able to apply for grants. Up to this point, Vermont Yankee has put $35 million into the fund. Without Vermont Yankee, there is no fund. I do know in the legislature right now, Tony Klein, who chairs the Natural Resource Committee, has introduced a bill calling for a $1.50 charge on everyone's electric bill each month to make up for the cost for this renewable energy fund. So that adds another $1.50 to everyone's electric bill. The revenue sharing agreement that Entergy got into with the state of Vermont back in 2002 has literally saved the ratepayer $330 million a year. And those are numbers from the Public Service Board. I mean, those are true factual numbers. So $330 million the ratepayer has saved in the cost of their electric bill. Now I feel Vermont Yankee is good for Vermont. It's good for the consumers. We know it's excellent for the environment. And none of this would matter without the safety at Vermont Yankee. And that's why I have you here today, because I don't know nuclear power, and I don't want to know nuclear power. God bless you guys for understanding that. But I do know that I live in a community where many of my neighbors work at the plants. My neighbors one has a wife who teaches at the elementary school across the street. His children go to that school across the street. And none of those people would be in our community if there was anything to be afraid of. And I think I want more than anything for people to get that message. There is a lot of question about, the plant was licensed for 40 years. And it's only built to last 40 years. Now, I've been told that the 40-year license had more to do with the amortization of the plant than anything else. But can you explain a little bit about why you believe the plant was built to last and the infrastructure changes that have been made? I know since Entergy took over the plant, they've put something like $200 or $300 million back into the infrastructure of the plant. But some of the changes that have been made in the plant that lets you know that that plant is safe.
Well, we have an engineer, Larry Cummings, that does the reliability of our equipment, and we change over the years, from the beginning of Vermont Yankee, that we keep up with all the maintenance. Maintenance is just like your car. You want to change the oil. If you don't change the oil in your car's going to blow up. The engine is going to stop working. Just like Vermont Yankee. We change all the parts and components and some things that are coming towards its life cycle, and we put it in with new. We do a very good job at that. We're probably, out of 103 nuclear power plants, we're about 98 on top of the list of reliable equipment at Vermont Yankee. So we take very pride in that. And Larry Cummings does a great job, and we do a good job as a team, and it's a team effort out there. Everybody's a teamwork effort. And we have done studies on equipment and how long they last, and it's important to understand that concept. Now, talking about the lifespan of a plant like Calvert Cliffs Nuclear Power Plant down in Maryland, I was there for their first plant to get license extension. They're well into their 8th, 9th year of license extension, and they're running fine, and they're running safe, legal, and efficient. And there's no reason why Vermont Yankee cannot do the same thing and keep up with the maintenance that we do and the outages that we do for PMs on the plants, and we can be a safe, legal, and responsible plant like everybody else does. That's why I feel that Vermont Yankee should get their license extension, and we should go forward and move forward, not just for the fair factor of the economy that we're in right now. We need to keep our jobs, not just in nuclear power, but we also need to create other jobs to help support nuclear power and other industries in the state of Vermont.
That about concludes our time today. I want to thank you very much for coming here today. It's been very good experience to hear what you have to say, and I think that our viewers are going to appreciate a lot of what you said. We will have another show soon, because I think it's important that we get the facts out about Vermont Yankee. So viewers, please watch in the future. There will be another show. For today, that wraps it up, and thank you very much for watching Town Square.
Thank you for having us.